Wheels went up to the Windy City for the 12-1 Eagles. The playoffs been clinched, but this team is fighting for so much more. An NFC opponent awaits at Cold Soldier Field. It's December ball at its finest. The past 3 weeks, the Birds have trampled opponents, averaging 41 points per game. They'll look to do the same here today against the 3-win Bears. Welcome to the Kickoff Show, presented by Little Caesars. I'm Ella DiGiovanni, joined by Fran Duffy. The Birds are undefeated on the road, and they're going to try and do that here today as well. Yeah, the best road record in the NFL the last 2 seasons under Nick Sirianni. Try and continue that here in the middle of a 3-game road stretch against a team coming off the bye. A lot of familiarity between these 2 coaching staffs. This will be an interesting game here this afternoon. It is an interesting matchup in that the Eagles have the best record in football. They were the first team in the NFL to clinch a playoff berth, while the Bears have been eliminated from the playoff race. But that doesn't matter for the Eagles because they're chasing so much more. They want home field advantage in the playoffs. They want that first-round playoff bye, and that starts here today. They got to get a win in Chicago to keep this thing rolling. Yeah, the urgency continues because the Minnesota Vikings win the most improbable way in NFL history yesterday. The Dallas Cowboys, they continue to win, so obviously a lot building up to next week down in Dallas. But at the end of the day, the Eagles need to keep winning these games. Today is no different. The Eagles' offense is at the top of the league in almost every category. They're ranked first in scoring, turnovers, and big plays. They have 2 players with 1,000 yards. Everywhere you look, this offense is thriving. So if you're the Bears defense, Fran, where do you even begin? You got to start with prayer. That's the only way to stop this Eagles offense right now. They are hitting on all cylinders. Since week 12, no team in the NFL has scored more points, almost 42 points a game from this offense the last few weeks. No team has had more yardage per game than this Eagles offense, 463 yards per game. So I think when you look at the way this team is operating, Miles Sanders, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, doing it all without Dallas Goedert, this offense is humming right now going into Soldier Field. How about QB1, huh? Jalen Hurts, he's won 17 of his last 19 regular season games. He's the first quarterback in NFL history with 10-plus rushing touchdowns in consecutive seasons. We talk so much about his development in the passing game, and he's going to be up against another quarterback who also thrives with his legs. We know that Jalen Hurts is bread and butter, but the development we've seen from him this year, the big step he's taken, I think it's going to be a huge opportunity to see more from the passing game here today. Yeah, and Ella, I'm a big proponent of process over results. We've seen a lot of big plays from Jalen Hurts over the course of the last 2 years, but really when you watch in the last 2 weeks, what has stood out to me is the way that he has excelled in a lot of the minutia of quarterback play. That 41-yard touchdown to DeVonta Smith last week, that was a pre-snap adjustment from Jalen Hurts. Outstanding example of him making a call at the line of scrimmage. The third down conversions before that, great examples to Quez Watkins and DeVonta Smith of accuracy, poise, decision-making, anticipation, great use of attacking the second window in the middle of the field to get A.J. Brown in the middle of the field in the red zone. You see the checkdowns, the ability to get the ball to Miles Sanders and Quez Watkins, get them the ball fast to create yards after catch. Just great examples week after week of him excelling in these small areas of quarterback play. And by the way, the last 2 weeks, the percentage points of screen passes, of RPOs, they are down several points here the last few weeks, which means we are seeing Jalen Hurts put up career-style numbers without the RPOs, without the screen. Yeah. So this isn't just easy button, easy button, easy button for Jalen Hurts. He is winning in the drop-back pass game. Such a great sign of his development. Last week during our post-game show with Ike Reese, we mentioned how locked in Jalen Hurts always is because there was a video that was viral during the game. This is it right here. A.J. Brown, Quez Watkins are having a grand old time on the sidelines. Jalen Hurts, you want to know if he was winning, losing, playing a good game, a bad game. That's who he is. So a lot of players were asked about this viral video this week in the locker room, and they said, that's him. I mean, A.J. Brown goes, us wideouts, we like to have some fun. Jalen Hurts, he doesn't really give you too much from the emotional standpoint, but A.J. Brown was also asked this week in the locker room if that's a true representation of QB1. Here's what he had to say. Him being here all the time, or one of the first ones in, I know he's probably one of the last ones out, other than the janitor. I see him from time to time. I'm in here pretty long time myself, but he just here. Like he might as well say he lives here. You know, I think that just goes to show you how hard he wants to win, and goes to show you like how much he prepares. You know, and he's in a rhythm. You know, he found his little rhythm. You know, as a professional, he has to prepare, and I think because I talk to him all the time, and I be FaceTiming, and he still be here. You know, and I'm at home, so that's an accurate statement. any player asked, even head coach Nick Sirianni said that he lives here. Jordan Mailata said even on off days when he pulls into the complex for treatment or anything like that, Hurts' car is already parked outside. And so when you think about the success this Eagles team has had this year, it starts with Jalen Hurts. And if this is the standard he has set, and we know, especially from the draft process, that he's a student of the game, we now are seeing kind of the fruition of the work that he's put in.
He is the tempo setter. He is the guy who really sets the tone for this Eagles, not just the offense, but this entire Eagles team. That's what you want from your quarterback on and off the field. That's what Jalen Hurts has brought since he arrived here in Philadelphia.
Now, A.J. Brown eclipsed 1,000 receiving yards last week in the win against the Giants, the third time in his career to do so. Friend, when you think about the two of us and Ross Tucker sitting there during the draft when we got the news that the Eagles made the trade for A.J. Brown, did you think it was going to go this well?
I figured it would go this well. It was just a matter of how it would go, right? Why it would go so well. We knew that A.J. Brown in Tennessee, everything was yak, yards after catch. Get him the ball fast and let him do work with the ball in his hands. But what do we see? Not just the yak here in Philadelphia, but also down the field. How many of those contested targets over the shoulder, down the field, vertical throws to A.J. Brown where he goes in and pulls it in just like we saw there. We've seen that time and time again. A.J. Brown becoming a true three-level threat here right in front of our eyes. One of the most dynamic receivers in the NFL. Going up against a Chicago secondary here today, Ella, where they are top 5 in press coverage. They are top 6 in man coverage. So you'll see plenty of press man, a depleted young secondary here for Chicago going up against number 11 and against the Slim Reaper, DeVonta Smith. That's a recipe for some fireworks here at Soldier Field.
Miles. That is Miles Sanders. He was the other player I mentioned to join the 1,000-yard party. The first time in his career, he, along with Jalen Hurts and the offensive line, are why this team ranks second in the NFL in rushing. And so when you think about the matchup with Chicago today, if the Eagles are able to get out to a hot start like they have been the past few weeks, they could be relying on the run game quite a bit.
I think so, and I think when you look at their ability to get out to a fast start, what has it been now? 7 of the last 8 games, the Eagles have scored a touchdown on the opening drive. Look, they're going to have their way with this Chicago defense, whether they want to go through the air or on the ground. Most metrics indicate the Eagles are going to have a good day offensively. I think if they can get out to that fast start, get Chicago behind the 8 ball a little bit, the second half, that's where we will see Miles Sanders and this run game really hit its stride. We talked about it last week. They ran for 61 yards in the first half against the Giants. They ran for 67 on the opening drive of the third quarter. So I would expect a similar kind of formula here from the Eagles this afternoon.
Well, Fran was joined in studio this week by running backs coach Jamal Singleton. They talked about the water boy play from the win against the Giants.
Okay, my favorite play of the game. No ifs, ands, buts about it. My favorite play of the game, more so because of what we kind of talked about leading up to it. I mean, there's some video out there of Miles talking about doing the Bobby Boucher. We talked about that all week, and he talked about quotes that he was going to use, and he was going to make the noise and do all this thing. I was like, okay, let's see it happen.
Well, as always, our social team was right on it. When Miles delivered on his word, this is what our team put together.
We're really excited after a block made for Jalen.
Yeah. I had a plan to yell like the water boy because I was mic'd up today. I hope y'all hear it.
Hey, don't forget I'm mic'd up today, y'all. I'm still talking. And on that play, if you hear me yelling like Bobby Boucher, that's me. Whoa! 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 Oh my God! Oh my God, man! Oh my God! Oh my God! I got you, boy! Woo! I went in like the water boy. I said 51.
It was a big week for Eagles Twitter because then our social team even caught the attention of Adam Sandler. He took to Twitter once he saw what was going on with Miles Sanders. I think we have that tweet. Can we pull it up? There it is, at Eagles, at DraftKings. Love you, buddy. Good week for Miles Sanders, huh? But while we're at it, basically everyone was taking to social media for Miles Sanders this week, including Eagles legend LaShawn McCoy. When you're doing the shady bounce, I think you're doing things pretty good.
Things are going well for you. We remember Ike Reese doing it on the postgame show after the game last week. But just bringing it back to even what Jamal Singleton, the Eagles running back coach, talked about in that segment on Eagles game plan. I asked him, we've seen this. This has become a recurring theme with this Eagles offense. Miles Sanders opening up holes for Jalen Hurts. DeVonta Smith Smith delivering big blocks on a safety for Miles Sanders to get in the end zone. A.J. Brown doing the same thing the week before against the Tennessee Titans. Dallas Goedert out ahead. These are your best players, your skill talent, quote unquote, doing dirty work in the run game. That's a recurring theme here for this Eagles offense.
Maybe we'll see more shady bouncing today in Chicago. We'll see. As we bring in the offensive starters here, Dallas Goedert is a no-go today. The 21-day practice window opened earlier in the week as he's been on IR for the past 4 weeks with that shoulder injury. During the week, he talked to media in the locker room. He said things are trending in the right direction. Of course, there was no timetable on his return, but his return will not come today. And of course, we will monitor that as the week goes on and the Eagles look towards Dallas next week.
I will say, Jack Stoll, Grant Calcaterra, outstanding job getting after it in the run game, whether it was for Miles Sanders, Jalen Hurts, Boston Scott, Kenny Gainwell. Those guys did work on the ground last week against the Giants.
Well, these guys up front, the offensive line, Jalen Hurts is extra thankful for them this season. So thankful that he gifted every single one of them a Louis Vuitton bag. Fran, I don't know what I got to do to join the offensive line group, but it was an exciting day in the locker room on Friday. We walked in and there was these giant orange Louis Vuitton boxes scattered throughout the locker room. And I saw on the card it said from JH. So, of course, that was from your quarterback. And I want to say, too, it wasn't just the 5 that start. Every offensive lineman on the practice squad included got one of these bags.
And just having the Jeff Stoutland University t-shirt, not enough to get you that bag. You have to be actually out there blocking for Jalen Hurts. But I will say, this tweet from you, Ella, has got to be one of your most viral tweet, right? This one went nuts.
Yeah, my phone broke on Friday. I needed to give it a rest for a little bit. People like to see this stuff because it shows Jalen Hurts as a person, and you know he really is grateful for them. I mean, extravagant gift or not, but I will say it was funny, too. I walked by A.J. Brown on the way out. I said, "Where's your orange box?" He goes, "Don't get me started. I'm already trying to calm down about it. I don't know where my bag is."
A sore subject, I'm sure.
Yeah,
but you know what? This Eagles offensive line, we know, very well deserving of that gift. Over time and time again, over and over, you see Jalen Hurts dropping back with a pristine pocket. That's from Jordan Mailata all the way over to Lane Johnson. Those guys have done an outstanding job all season long. So a Louis Vuitton bag, well deserved.
Why not? Well, they'll face the Bears defense, who is ranked last in third down and sacks. So it's a true mismatch here we'll see today. What do you expect to see from this offensive line? How they can really exploit the Bears defensive line to keep things rolling the way that they have been the past few weeks?
I think it's just it's strength on weakness right now. This is not a fair fight when you look at it from a metric standpoint. The Eagles, pass protection, near the top of the league in almost every metric. The Bears, near the bottom or at the bottom of nearly every metric. So sack percentage, pressure percentage, QB hits, QB hurries, does not matter. The Bears have really struggled to protect quarterback Justin Fields, or to get after opposing quarterbacks. They've also struggled to protect as well. We'll get into that in a little bit. But when you look at Jason Kelce, Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, everybody up front, they've done an outstanding job of keeping Jalen Hurts clean. I would expect that to continue this afternoon.
Want to talk about rankings, Fran? This Eagles defense is the best in the league. Get ready, get your notes out. In passing yards per game allowed, sacks, takeaways, opposing passer rating, and yards per play allowed. They've been playing lights out the past 3 weeks, the way they've been able to take down Aaron Rodgers, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones. It's been quite impressive. Of course, it starts in the trenches up front with that defensive line.
Yeah, and I got to have my skis a little bit there, talking about how the Chicago Bears have really struggled to protect Justin Fields, but that does not determine the fact, or that doesn't get away from the fact that he has been as dynamic as anybody in the NFL. The most explosive quarterback in football has been Justin Fields, and that's going to be a big task. I think if you're a Chicago Bears fan, or if you're an Eagles fan just trying to understand the dynamics of this game, you're going to try and compare Jalen Hurts to Justin Fields, but doing it from this year to this year, it's apples to oranges. You have to look back to Jalen Hurts a year ago, and we've got some stats to support that. The numbers are very similar, just raw numbers, Jalen Hurts to Justin Fields from Jalen a year ago, but even if you look at it, the way that they used these two players, last year, Jalen Hurts, a ton of screen passes and a ton of vertical shots down the field. Well, the Chicago Bears right now with Justin Fields, number 1 in screen percentage, number 2 in deep shots. Throws that attack 20-plus yards down the field in terms of air yardage. I think when you're looking at the Chicago Bears right now, they are struggling to protect Justin Fields. That would be something I think the Eagles will try and take advantage of. But ultimately, their career arcs, very, very similar. But you got to rewind the clock a little bit and look to Jalen a year ago.
Yeah, I actually did a deep dive on the parallels between Jalen Hurts and Justin Fields this week in my column, and it's so interesting because they both were recruited as top dual-threat quarterbacks in high school. They both started in the SEC. They both transferred into situations that then really took them into the NFL. Jalen Hurts drafted in 2020. Justin Fields followed the year after. After their rookie seasons, they both got new head coaches, and now in the NFL, they lead all quarterback stats in rushing, which is impressive. But when you look at that graphic, it is so important to look at because I think Jalen Hurts has kind of created a blueprint for what the Chicago Bears want to see from Justin Fields as the years go on.
The difference is that the Eagles' offensive line is so much better than what the Bears are currently putting out there. So when you have Brandon Graham coming off a 3-sack performance, you have this defensive line, as you mentioned, leading the NFL in sacks. That's going to be tough sledding for Justin Fields in this offense. They really need to beef up the personnel around him to really improve his chances of hitting next year.
Now, the stats speak for themselves, but here's Miles Sanders' reaction last week on the sidelines when he realized how many sacks the defense is totaling this season.
My boy, 10 sacks 3 years in a row, only didn't do it. Bro, you the first player in the NFL to do that. God. That's 2 today? 3. How many you got on the end? Let me get this straight, bro. You got 8. Hassan got 11 or 10. He got. Paul Gray got 10. Paul Gray got 8. How many you got? 8. 6. No, y'all crazy.
With 3 sacks last week against the Giants, so we'd like to take a moment to remind fans to vote for Brandon Graham for this year's Walter Payton Man of the Year Award. Head to Twitter and use hashtag WPMOY challenge, followed by Graham or his Twitter handle @BrandonGraham55. Now, this has become a weekly occurrence to show Eagles fans just how many NFC honors this 2022 team has received this year. We mentioned a big day for BG last week against the Giants, which earned him NFC Defensive Player of the Week awards. 3 straight for the Eagles in weeks 12, 13, and 14. We're running out of space here, Fran.
Yeah, in the business, we call this a side slab graphic. This is going to have to become a full screen graphic if the Eagles keep this up. Just ridiculous the amount of honors this roster continues to pile up.
Well, week in and week out, I feel like a broken record when it comes to talking about the brilliance that is Hassan Reddick. It kind of takes me back to the beginning of the season. Nick Sirianni was asked a few questions about when are we going to see Hassan Reddick kind of emerge. And once he did, Fran, he has never looked back.
Yeah, and this is a guy that just impacts the game in so many different ways. Last week against the Giants was a great example of that. There were times where he was able to win off the edge with his speed, his first step. He had some hurries late in the game doing that. But that sack he had in the first drive of the game, he threatened with his speed, then undercut the offensive tackle and won inside. And if you have that ability to win both ways as a pass rusher, well, now you're presenting offensive lines with a really, really difficult issue to contend with. And then he's also dominant in the run game against tight ends. He has been all season long. He also had a play in coverage last week where he matched a running back in man-to-man, forced Daniel Jones to hold onto the football, fell forward for a 1-yard gain instead of throwing the football for a first down. So Hassan Reddick impacting the game in so many different ways here this season for this Eagles defense.
Well, Reddick joined Dave Spadaro in studio this week. He shared what it's like recording 10-plus sacks in 3 straight seasons with 3 different teams.
Man, you know, it's crazy to look back and think of it, man, because like I said earlier, man, it was a journey getting to this point.
Yeah,
it did not come easy for me, but you know, with all the success, the accomplishments that I have made, you know, I'm still hungry. I want more. I want more, and there's still more to be done. So, you know, while it's all great, not complacent, not happy with it.
You can listen to Dave's entire interview with Hassan Reddick on the Eagles Insider podcast, anywhere the podcast can be found. While we're still on the topic of linebackers here, how about Reddick's fellow linebacker, TJ Edwards? He's top 10 in the NFL in total tackles with 115. Every week, we're talking about Hassan Reddick, we're talking about TJ Edwards, but deservedly so, Fran.
Yeah, we've been talking about the run defense over the last month or so. In the last 2 weeks, they've gone against 2 of the most physically imposing running backs in the NFL. Saquon Barkley last week, Derrick Henry the week before. I got news for you, Ella. Those 2 guys broke as many tackles the last 2 weeks as I have against this Eagles defense. 0 missed tackles from the Eagles a week ago against Saquon Barkley. 0 missed tackles the week before against Derrick Henry. A lot of that comes from the linebackers, TJ Edwards and Kaiser White. Major kudos to those 2 guys.
As we bring in the Eagles' defensive starters, will be the second week Avonte Maddox is back in the lineup, but still a little thin at the safety position. Fran, Reed Blankenship officially ruled out today with that knee injury.
Yeah, no Anthony Harris, right? He was put on the practice squad, but not elevated for this game. So Kayvon Wallace getting the start, and anytime you're getting into your fourth or fifth player at a certain position, makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable, but I thought Kayvon did a solid job last week. One nugget I like, going up against Justin Fields. This is the first time since January 2020 those two guys were on the field together. Fiesta Bowl, Clemson, Ohio State. I know it was a sore spot for you, but Kayvon Wallace instrumental in the victory over Justin Fields and the Buckeyes back that spring.
Well, I guess I'm rooting for Kayvon Wallace today, huh?
That's right.
Then when you go to the DBs, right, I feel like when I review my notes before this show, I got nothing else to write. They're the best cornerback duo in the National Football League.
Yeah, what else can you say about James Bradbury and Darius Slay? Those guys are playing at such a high level. Man coverage, zone coverage, off coverage, press coverage. Number one targeter, a team that spreads the ball around. The Eagles cornerbacks, that's the best cornerback duo in the NFL. I don't think it's close this year.
All right, as this team heads back to the locker room, Fran, what are your 3 things to watch?
I think number one, it's going to be dominate the line of scrimmage. It's going to be something that we've talked about over the course of this show. Huge area of strength for this Eagles, offensive line and defensive line. Huge area of weakness for the Chicago Bears, offensive line and defensive line. Number two, no explosive plays. Justin Fields, he is as explosive as there is at the quarterback position in the NFL. He's going to create big plays with his legs. Eagles can't let him do it. He's going to attack down the field. Eagles can't let him do it. Limit the explosive plays. Don't let them tilt momentum in their favor with some of those chunk plays on offense. And then the last part, expect anything. Going into this game, Chicago Bears, they've got plenty to play for. Obviously, they're out of the playoff hunt, but from a respect standpoint, from a culture building standpoint, this is a team that is trying to knock off the Eagles. So don't let them play spoiler. This is a team with plenty of familiarity on the coaching staff. Matt Eberflus, the head coach of the Chicago Bears, he was in Indianapolis with Nick Sirianni, with Jonathan Gannon, knows both coaches very, very well. They're coming off the bye week. Expect some new wrinkles, trick plays, things they haven't shown on film, all of that. Expect that in this game.
Sirianni said this week he knows Flus well. He said, I know he'll have his guys ready to go, and we need to be ready too.
No doubt.
Well, with that, we're going to head to Soldier Field, where we welcome in Eagles insider Dave Spadaro. Dave, it's December in Chicago at Soldier Field. Now, I don't want to make you do overtime here, but can you give me a little weather report?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually as nice as you might possibly expect in the middle of December in Chicago. That said, it's really cold. It's in the 20s, wind chills in the teens. There is a lot of wind here today, so I think the special teams will be impacted. And the weather, the wind that comes off the lake, it comes from all different directions, so it's really hard to predict. But in warm-ups, a lot of passes just kind of fluttered in the intermediate game. So I think the vertical passing game will be very, very difficult for both teams today. That said, it's sunny, and really what more can you ask for in mid-December from Chicago?
Dave, the Eagles are again without Dallas Goedert this week. They've scored 123 points without him. What have they learned about the offense minus one of their star players?
Yeah, Ella, it's really remarkable. 123 points, incredibly deep roster, and a very versatile roster. And so to be able to implement other weapons into this offense, it's really encouraging. Because when you get down the line here and you get into the playoffs, defenses will be able to take away 1 or 2 pieces. A great defense like San Francisco, maybe they take away 3 pieces. The Eagles are showing that they've got many more weapons that they can utilize, personnel packages, approaches to offense. Really, really good stuff from the Eagles. And at the same time, getting Jack Stoll involved, getting Grant Calcaterra involved, both of whom had strong games last week, particularly blocking in the run game. And we'll see a lot of that today.
There's so much outside noise about what lies ahead for the Eagles next week. Is there any concern that this is a trap game of sorts for the Birds?
Yeah, you know, Nick Sirianni talked about that on Friday when asked. He doesn't believe in a trap game. And when you preach the dog mentality, meaning that you pay attention to every small detail on a daily basis, you don't come in unprepared. That said, there are down games and there are lack of focus games. And so early on today, watch for the Eagles, as they did in Indianapolis. Make sure they don't have penalties, turnovers. And the only things that have stopped the Eagles offensively this year are the giveaways and are the penalties. And Fran, you mentioned that the Eagles have not missed any tackles. That's something you watch for early in this ballgame. But the Eagles understand what is at stake today. The objective is to win the NFC East 1 and to have the number 1 seed in the NFC playoffs, get that bye week and have the postseason come through Lincoln Financial Field. This is a hugely important game. And one other note, Kayvon Wallace starts at safety, but it would not surprise me if the Eagles rotate in a little bit of Avonte Maddox, Josiah Scott. How much do the Bears, who are lacking healthy receivers, actually run a 3 wide receiver set? You might want to get Avonte Maddox on the field, so use him at the safety position. So that is something to watch today, how the Eagles use their personnel alongside, at the safety position, alongside Marcus Epps.
Awesome stuff, Dave. I'll send you back into cold, chilly Chicago. That was Eagles Insider Dave Spadaro live from Soldier Field. Now, Miles Sanders really delivered on the content front this week in this social spotlight presented by Ponley Hockey. Sanders reviews his game day outfits.
Your boy. Now that's a 10, I ain't gonna lie. The Lambins, working with Gallery Dep, so those are Gallery Department shoes too. The 2 bags I got on my hands, spray ground. The shirts, Gallery Department. The vest is Gallery Department. The hat's Gallery Department, but yeah. And the icy, I can't know about the ice, but that's a 10. Whoo, that boy. The jeans is Capital. If y'all don't know what Capital is, look it up. It's a Japanese clothing brand that came to America. The jacket's Capital too, and the hat too. Shoes is regular white Forces, but yeah, that boy clean. That boy clean right there.
The Kickoff Show is delivered by Little Caesars, proud partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. Order online during the Pizza pregame and get it delivered or pick up in store in the Pizza portal. Pizza. I think I want to see you do an outfit review from game days.
That might not go as well as Miles did. So that was really good stuff there from the Eagles running back, who I believe will be joining me on Eagles Game Plan next week as well.
Oh, a little teaser.
Yeah,
all right.
Making the rounds there from a content standpoint.
All right. Well, what do you have for us for the Rico Extra Point?
All right. Well, let's talk through what is the number one topic going into this game, stopping Justin Fields. How do the Eagles do it? Well, it is a full team effort. You require all 3 levels of the defense to stop a guy like Justin Fields. I said earlier, the most explosive quarterback in football this year. How do you stop him? Well, it's going to start with the defensive line. In your 4-man rush, you have got to be very disciplined with your rush lanes. Don't let him escape. If you give him one crease, he is going to take it. Also, if you're going to blitz, you typically have a different way you're going to blitz against a scrambling quarterback. You are going to feature more edge pressure because you want to try and keep him contained inside. If you blitz inside, that's going to force the quarterback to go outside. And when you have Justin Fields with that 4.3 speed, you don't want him getting outside the numbers to the sideline. So you can expect the Eagles will probably feature more edge pressure. If they do come inside, expect some contained players on the outside. Now, Kaiser White, over the course of this season, we have seen him be the primary quarterback spy when the Eagles have used it. Now, the Eagles have faced less QB runs than any team in football. They haven't faced a guy like Justin Fields, so that'll be something to watch here. They've also played more dime defense in the last few weeks, so keep an eye out for 6 DBs on the field. Get more speed out there to contend with Justin Fields as a scrambler. And from a coverage standpoint, we know, watching Jalen Hurts every week, you play man-to-man coverage against an athletic quarterback, you're going to get burned with scrambles. Zone coverage, probably more the way to go. You've got more eyes on the quarterback that way in zone coverage, and especially with some of the techniques that the Eagles have used in recent weeks where they've played more invert coverage. Those 2 safeties rolling down close to the line of scrimmage, that can be just as effective as a quarterback spy at times because they are seeing it from top down, coming down towards the line of scrimmage. It's a better angle to attack an athletic quarterback like Justin Fields. So it's not going to just be one answer to stop a guy like Fields. You're going to require all 3 levels of the defense to do their part. I would expect that to be the case here against the Eagles. And remember, we've seen this from Jonathan Gannon. Hey, Derrick Henry, Justin Jefferson, whoever that key player is in the opposing offense, they've done a great job of taking him out of the game. That's going to be the game plan here against Justin Fields.
Well, that'll do it for us here on the Kickoff Show. Be sure to tune in to the post-game show presented by Rico immediately following the game. Ike Reese will join us in studio as well for instant reaction and analysis from an afternoon in Chicago. Will the Birds fly home with win number 13? Will Jalen Hurts continue to shine? Can the defense slow down Justin Fields? Thanks for getting ready for kickoff with us. Enjoy the game and go Birds.